Good morning. Good morning. Java Delight will uplift you. Stay tuned. The show is about to begin. Grab your coffee. Stay tuned. This show is about to begin.
Good morning, everybody. How are we doing? My name is Gavin Kerr, and I am here with OG. I just got a text from a friend saying he cut part of his finger off. I really hope he's okay. I was not expecting that. Oh, my. Hi, my name is Gavin Kerr, and I am here on the Java Delight Morning Show. Thank you all so much for being here. Brandon is on his way right now. He is actually currently outside of my house, setting himself up. I'm not sure what he's setting up on, though, because there is no table out there, but he insisted on being outside. I don't blame him. I have all the windows open. It's a very nice, beautiful day here right now in Ohio and Cleveland. See how everybody is doing really quick. Saying hi to everybody. We have Brian Tracy. He and I are in a extremely tight, rough Scrabble game right now. Everything is very close. One of us will build a word, and then the other one, instead of going across it, will just build straight down it. So there's very limited movement on that, but he and I have been having a lot of fun playing Scrabble together. Bob Seymour, good morning, brother. He's going to be on later today. Digital Delight, that is us. Renee Bush, thank you always so much for sending me the funny videos that you do. The video that you sent me. Hey, Brandon.
Hi, buddy. Guess where I am?
In my backyard.
I am in your backyard.
I can hear you. I'm going to close this window.
Wait. You ready for the best thing, guys? Look who I get to do the show with today. He's so cute. Hey, don't look away. Give them their love. Show them how adorable. Oh, hello. I love puppies. I apparently have to turn the camera. I have to sit this way. Now you can see me. I didn't realize this. I thought I had it set up the better way. I am on the west side of Cleveland today. I am enjoying my time with Gavin Kerr. Came out here. We had a meeting this morning, and him and I talked, and I said, hey, why don't I just come to your house, and I'll do the show from the backyard? And he was like, okay. I'm like, okay. Are you just waking up? He's like, okay.
Yeah.
I love it. Oh, I love it. So, good morning, everybody. Gavin, how are you, my friend?
I'm doing pretty good. Karaoke last night, I say, was a success. We had about 8 new singers, which is really good, and then some people hopefully coming back. Now that it's nice outside, we have the patios are starting to open up, so instead of doing inside shows, I'm now getting to move outside, enjoy the weather. I wore shorts for the first time since I was born, so that was really weird for people to see. They saw like my tattooed legs and stuff like that. I never wear shorts, ever. Like,
why?
I don't know. I just I used to when I was little. I used to be one of those Ohio kids who would wear shorts no matter what the weather was. And then one winter, my mother took all of our shorts and put them away for the season, and I just never got them back out. I just got really comfortable wearing jeans. So now all I ever wear is jeans.
Wow, that's awesome. I don't have a rebuttal to that because all I wear is shorts. Like literally, as I'm out, I'm in basketball shorts. I have sweatpants on, but I could tear these off at any moment, and you never know.
Well, because of the constantly wearing jeans, I suffer from disgustingly pasty leg syndrome.
Oh,
And
yeah, that's a
so,
big
yeah,
ordeal.
so that's part of the reason. That's also part of the reason why I covered my legs in tattoos.
I can understand that. I can understand that. So
Yeah.
what are you grateful for today, my friend? Good morning.
I am grateful that I'm able to find. I'm grateful that I'm able to find people that I can stick with, such as like my tattoo artist. I've been going to the same tattoo artist. My first tattoo was done by my older brother's mother, but then all my other tattoos have been the same artist. I've been sticking with him the whole time. I have a barber that I go to who is my barber. So I'm very grateful for things like that. Just like these people who I know I can go to for a specific service and they do a great job and I build a relationship with them. I'm grateful for those kind of things.
You just got a new tattoo.
I did on the back of my right calf. I got this beautiful woman with like this mask that's wrapped around her face, but it's coming off and you can see the true beauty as the mask is peeled away. I don't know who the woman is. I kind of want to meet her one day. I think that'd be really funny if I was walking down the street and just saw her. I was like, oh, you look kind of familiar. I was talking to my tattoo artist about this, Nicholas De Niro. You can find him on social media. And I was like, do you know who this is? He goes, no, just some woman online. I was like, huh, what if I run into her? What if she has an OnlyFans? I'd never be able to look at my leg the same way again.
I wonder if you could find her on OnlyFans and then be like, so I don't know you, but my tattoo artist wanted me to get you on my leg, so I did it.
Yeah. I feel like do I get like a friends and family discount now?
To OnlyFans? That actually would be a good question to lead with. I would start with that question.
Yeah.
Too funny. So I'm grateful this morning. Guys, don't forget to throw your comments in there. Let us know what you're grateful for. Let us know what you're thinking your weekend's going to look like. Let us know exactly why you're alive. What is bringing you life today? I love that. So for me, I woke up bright and early, earlier than usual. And I had to get downtown. I got hired for an event where they're renting a bunch of my equipment. And I'm grateful that I have jobs opening up. I have things happening. We have good things coming about. Truthfully, I have to be honest, there's been so much going on that it's just, I'm grateful that I'm able to actually have a team that works very hard together and wants to see the best outcomes, while being able to run around the city of Cleveland and make new contacts. This morning was a very nice one that I got to sit down with for about a half hour and just enjoy a conversation of what the future holds and what we could be doing. So Gavin and I went and checked out a studio. What?
I was not aware you had an OnlyFans, Brandon.
I mean, only in Care Bears. All right,
Naked Care Bears.
Yeah, it's the Naked Care Bears OnlyFans account. Very few people get access. It's VIP only. I'm sorry, VIB. Very important bears, and that's the only one you get in. And you know, it's a tough thing, but I gotta do what I gotta do to make money nowadays. So
yeah, no, I understand. It's a tough world that we live in. Yeah.
So I am grateful for the weekend. Need some self-care. Went to the doctor yesterday, and not so good news, but I will prevail. So I love the energy. I love what you're putting out there. Rising Phoenix, do us a favor. Let us know exactly how you're doing and keep the good vibes going. What are you guys doing for self-care? This weekend, I'm actually volunteering on Saturday and cleaning up a Metro Park for a while. I volunteer for 6 hours this Saturday. So I'm looking forward to that. That's self-care because I literally just get to be in the sun and be away from everybody and get to be honestly just with me and enjoying life. Brett Gordon says he's grateful to have 3 hours of sleep last night, so refreshing and getting ready for the amazing week we had and the amazing weekend coming up. Brett Gordon's 3 hours of sleep is more than he's gotten the rest of the week, and that's why it's been essential for him to get a little bit of sleep in there. And I'm just glad Brett is actually up and feeling up to being Brett Gordon this morning, because without a BG, there's nothing else, you know?
Yeah. Staying alive, baby.
So Gavin, what are your plans for the weekend?
So today I actually have a delivery coming to the house. I have, I want to say 5 or 6 4x4 garden boxes, 4 feet by 4 feet, these huge garden boxes. Because remember how Josh and Brendan have those lovely gardens at their house with all their produce in it? That's what I'm going to be doing. I was inspired by them, so I'm going to get these huge garden boxes coming in. I'm going to put them up in the backyard. Depending on what all they need, I'm going to, get them ready. And then I'm not sure. I got to look into it if I'm able to plant anything this year. I think I am. I think it's still early enough where I'd be able to plant.
You can get it in. Yeah, you can get it in.
So I'll do that, and then I'll go get some stuff to plant. Probably get some potatoes. Cause I ate a crazy amount of potatoes. So potatoes, onions, maybe some peppers and stuff. And then the other one, if you look directly in front of you, that I'm going to cut a bunch of that vine down to basically just the roots. And then I'm going to use that for all my spices. And my mother's going to take that grapevine back. So I'll be up to that. I'll be doing some karaoke shows this weekend. And that's about it.
Gavin has a great backyard. Don't you whine to me. Your dog and I are having a bonding moment back here.
Nice.
I see you. You are the most handsome boy in the backyard. Don't let anybody tell you anything different, okay? But totally lost my train of thought. Bob Seymour says, can we send some more warm weather that way? Absolutely. We'll do what we can, Bob. And Rising Phoenix said she had a heart murmur. Self-care, warm enough to hit the sunset, to take on the lake this week, and finishing my painting, sister's house, and as usual for fun.
Awesome.
Yeah, exactly. And then I'm going to a Healy conference here at Vegas to celebrate the first year of Healy has been available in the U.S. Brett is going to come back on Monday and be healed. The question is, I read Jessica Dugas's comment. Sorry. The question is, Brett, how healed are you going to be? Are you going to be able to walk on water? Or are you going to heal the blind? Or is this just Brett's coming back and he's never going to get sick again? I got him to write. Go ahead, Gavin.
I don't know why, but when you said the walk on water thing, it occurred to me as and I know it's kind of like a dumb thought, but the first initial thought that I had was, damn, Jesus can never take a bath.
Oh my gosh, that's funny. Yeah, all of a sudden, imagine you're Mary. You can't shove him in the tub because you're gonna hurt the Son of God. You're gonna be like, I was a virgin until I met you. No wonder women hate babies.
Could he even take a shower or be touched by was he just hydrophobic? Is that what that was?
I don't know. I think
when he did the when he did the water to wine trick for the first time, do you think he might have messed up practicing and accidentally turned the 90-some% of water in his body into wine?
Oh shoot! I think he'd be he'd be too drunk then. Wouldn't that be alcohol poisoning? I mean, you are the Son of God though.
No, he's Jesus. He's fine. He'd be fine. If he did it to somebody else, they'd be absolutely dead. That'd be terrible.
So does that mean he can be technically drunk whenever he wants? It's just be like, you know what? I want to be water to wine.
If he's able to get drunk.
So
maybe he's not able.
Jessica Dugas says, question, is he in the backyard because the milkshake brought him there? Actually, it's true. Gavin's milkshake brings all the boys to the yard, and I'm like,
damn right.
I'm here with y'all. Grateful to have gone to live with the first interactive live with the first interactive one square at a time show yesterday. Guys, if you have not checked it out, Brett Gordon released Soul yesterday. He put out his leadership tips. He had a great conversation with a young lady who was asking questions about leadership. Turn it on. It's on the Delight Network. Give him a shout, give him a look, give him a comment, give him a like. It's about leadership and building up your best you through the movie Soul. If you haven't seen the movie Soul, watch it and then watch Brett's commentary because it was a great episode. Brett, you did a great job. I watched it last night in the background. Mr. Gavin Kerr, we have a very, very, very cool day planned, don't we?
Yes, we do. Yes, we do. Starting out with Bob Seymour. Very excited to have him on. It's always a pleasure to have him on, spreading his positivity, talking about stuff with him. And then you want to tell us about our special guest today?
Oh, I do, because I'm going to have to read it. So, Geoffrey Klein. Geoffrey's career is over 25 years, has been about helping connect the right message to the right audience for the greatest impact. His experience spans from being legally trained to working for Seth Godin to working the major motion pictures at Paramount Pictures and MGM Studios. Geoffrey has presented Tedx conferences, has guest lectured at Manchester Metropolitan University in the UK, Drexel University, Hussian College, and Temple University. As well, he has presented programs on the science and story of WeWork, CareersPHL, Intelligence Office, City-Coho, and Small Business Expos. In addition to running content marketing agencies, Geoffrey is an adjunct professor at Temple University School of Media and Communication. I hope he teaches us how to talk, because I feel like I stumbled through all of that. But the truth is, he's done a TED Talk. He's done amazing things. He's going to be joining us today. He's going to teach us about leadership and being able to be him. Gavin and I watched his TED Talk yesterday. What were your thoughts on that, Gavin?
I really enjoyed it, in all honesty. I was reading, or I was going through the whole time, and I just thought to myself, like, so I lost my train of thought for a moment. No, overall, though, I did really enjoy it. I appreciate what he did have to say, and I felt like there were things that were overlooked, honestly. Like, the way that he described everything, he made it seem very simple. He made it seem like they were almost common sense kind of things that we just get distracted by our day-to-day life to sit down and actually be able to realize.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah. He brought a different perspective of his whole speech. He gives this speech, his TED Talk, and at the end he's like, but this talk was for you, and he flips it on you. And it was really kind of cool how he presented everything and put it out there, and then it made it where we were able to understand the connection. I do not like that angle. I feel like I look like I have 16 chins. But he literally was able to present us with a way of thinking outside the box, and it was just a creative thing. I'm looking forward to getting his insight and having him on today.
Yeah, well, I think also how he structured it too, because one of the things he talked about was our attention span being so short. Pardon me. Was our attention span being so short, and after he said that to us, it made us acknowledge it. And then he continued on by helping fix that issue and preventing it from being an issue by structuring it in a storytelling kind of way, so it was very easy to follow.
Yes, he did. Actually, I think that's going to be one of our first things we should talk to him about is the his focus of people and the goldfish, and how goldfish actually have a longer attention span than humans do nowadays. Yeah, the average person. Yeah, absolutely. It's really crazy to think about. Everybody. I thought everybody, well, I've been like that since I was a kid, man. Like, I can't pay attention when you're talking. I'm looking around, seeing other things to think of, and I'm not trying to. Okay. It's just I've always been like that. But before we have Geoffrey on, we've got a very, very, very awesome segment planned. We have who do we have today? Bob. Is it Friday
we got
already?
Bob. Yes. We got
Bob
brother
today?
Bob Seymour.
Where are you going? The dog is like as close as he can get to me. Hi.
Yeah, he does that.
So Bob Seymour is joining us, and he is spreading delight across the country right now. I'm believing he is in Colorado by his comment about send the warm weather that way. That's why Brandon has a goldish orange shirt on. Yep, he's right. I do. I wore it for my goldfish. But Bob Seymour,
just keep swimming.
Bob Seymour is going to be on here. What we're going to do is he's going to be on here and talking about where he's at and what he's doing and spreading positivity. He's bringing some good news for us. Gavin, do you want to bring him in a little bit earlier?
I would love to bring him in a little bit earlier.
I do too.
I'll talk to Bob anytime.
Bob brings this energy that is just positive, uplifting, encouraging. At the end of the day, Bob is 1 in a million, and I am excited to announce our newest stuff with him. Let's bring Bob in and have some fun and see him where he's changing the world today.
So when you said Gavin, do you want to bring in Bob? I thought you meant Gavin. Click the button.
I have to be honest, I said it, and I was meaning like we're just going to bring him in. And right when you click the same button, I'm like, yep, I know what we're doing wrong here. Sorry, buddy.
Yep. Bob, how you doing, brother?
Hey, good morning, guys. How you guys doing
Good
today?
morning,
Doing
Bob.
great.
I'm so happy to see you.
It's good to be here, man.
Good.
All right,
Good to
where
have
are you?
I'm back in Elizabeth in Colorado, southeast of Denver. I've been
Okay.
I had to get out of the city stuff. I can only take so much of that, so I escaped to the wilderness.
Nice.
I love it. So give us a little checkup. Where are you? What are you up to today? And how are you changing the world around you?
Well, yesterday I was in the midst of a plumbing job. I hate plumbing, but you got to do what you got to do. So I spent like the whole day helping my friend here get some toilets working again. It was rough. But no, I was up in Longmont at my rocket scientist friend Roberts. You guys met him last week, and
Yes.
There's a couple charity organizations out here that Robert's involved in. One of them is it's called Our Center, OUR Center. It's a place for feeding for the homeless and whatnot. And we went on a poker run a couple of weeks ago and got talking to a couple that run this charity called Brother Down, and we were talking about what we could do to help some of the homeless in the area, because it's really getting bad out here. So we decided we were going to try to get a pig roast together. So Robert's going to buy the pig, and we're going to get it all done. We're just waiting for word back from the feeding center place, what do you want to call it, to give us the dates to work on. But we're going to go ahead and just throw a big party for the homeless out here and see how it goes. We got a couple of brothers that we just did a poker run 2 weeks ago. I think it was 2 weeks ago, and we raised about $6,000 for this family. A brother went down, and it doesn't look like he's going to walk again. It was a dramatic, life-changing thing there. So we're trying to do what we can do to help that brother out. They got a lot of, the house has to be remodeled and everything. So because he's wheelchair bound now. So we're just, just doing what we do, just trying to help people out locally and do whatever we can do to kind of make their life a little easier, man. So there's a lot of other stuff going on. Like I got a couple of weddings I'm planning, because I still do
I was about to say, you texted me yesterday super excited about something coming up, and then you downplay it now. He's like, yeah, I'm doing plumbing. And I'm like, I hate plumbing. And he's like, me too, brother. And then the next thing I get from him is, I'm doing a wedding in Florida in 3 weeks, correct?
Yeah, I'm leaving here on the 11th with my friend Animal and his old lady Blondie, and we're gonna jump on the scooters and ride down near somewhere near Orlando, I think. I'm going to spend the night down there and do the wedding, and then we're going to turn around and fly back to Colorado unless I end up coming up there. If I got the gas money to get up there, I'll leave Florida and ride up. Probably stop in Atlanta to see my grandbabies for a night, and then shoot from there on up to Ohio and see you guys, man.
What?
That's amazing,
What?
man.
Yeah.
Wait.
All right, well, we do have a question right off the bat for you, Bob. I'm sorry. I got to make sure I get this in here. Don't mind me. Oh, wait, that's not it. I clicked this one. Don't mind me eating burgers and fries. I clicked the right one, but there was another comment. They go so quick, they move. Question of the day. Bob, when are you going to come visit the Dugas family in North Alabama?
What part of North? What part of North Alabama? There's a lot of areas.
The north part. There's the northern one.
What part of the northern part, brother?
That I don't know. That's not my thing. Beyond moving pictures. Oh, I love it.
If I knew where in North Alabama, I'd give you a shout. My son's only about I think about an hour and a half from Birmingham, and whenever I'm within 300-400 miles, I go and see them. But it's only, I mean, it's not even a donut run to go anywhere in Alabama from my boy's place. So tell them to send me wherever it is they're at, and if I'm within 100 miles or a couple 100 miles, I'll shoot over and say, hey.
She's in the Skulls, specifically Florence.
Oh, Florence? Oh, that's not that far. Yeah. I might just do that.
Maybe we just all meet there. Do you want to just meet there and have Phil cook for us, Bob?
That sounds good to me, brother. Only
I'm down with that.
As long as there's not any cheese involved, I'll eat it.
All right, so no cheese for Bob.
No.
Good Lord, I'm never wearing orange again. I've got 3 different text messages and Brett Gordon making fun of me. Everybody saying it looks like you're wearing a prison jumpsuit today, Brandon. I'm like, wow, that's kind of a surprise.
I think more like hunting or like construction work when I see that orange.
We don't do cheese, Bob. They're vegan at Jessica's house. So this is going to be all new for everybody, for you guys especially. Don't go, you haven't even tried it yet. Hold on. I'm going to defend Miss Dugas on this right now. All right. You haven't even tried it yet. And you're already going, bleh. Do me a favor.
He didn't go to that. He went, because he just got done talking about this big, sexy pig roast that they're about to throw for the homeless. They're going to have this awesome pig roast. So it's complete opposite.
Vegetables are not food, man. Vegetables is what food eats, man.
Yes. Okay, but vegetables are good at times. And Jessica, I will say, Jessica is a chef. She makes amazing things that you don't think are vegan. And I say that coming from we've talked on the phone, and I used to be a vegan chef, so I know how to make some things. I personally like my cheeseburgers and stuff now, but she really does. She and I talked last night, and she gave me some big news that's not mine to say. So just everybody reach out to Jessica Dugas and just say congratulations. That's all I have to say. Okay.
Congratulations.
Yeah. Like she'll tell us all. But she makes things like you would be surprised. Like she makes cookies, she makes pies, she makes cakes, she makes burgers, and you have no idea how great they really are. And it looks like a real burger. Like, I swear, you will be surprised and you will be happy and full.
I'm open
to the vegan food that I like are things like Indian food, like hummus and falafel and stuff like that. That's what I like.
I get where you're at.
I can handle a falafel, but the hummus stuff. No, I've been to the place. It's a little town called Abu Ghosh. It's about 15 miles outside of Jerusalem, and it's supposed to have the best hummus in the world. If that's the best, no, I'm not in.
No. Colin, what were you doing outside of Jerusalem?
Well, I started going over to Israel back in 1993, and I went like every year, sometimes twice a year until 2015, and I didn't go in 16 or 17. The last time I was there was 18. But I have a lot of friends over there. the church I
Yeah.
was with, we did a lot of work around the world with Messianic believers. So I go over there. I got a lot of friends. Actually, I was at a Jewish wedding over there. My friend's daughter was the very first Messianic believer to be married. Her and her husband, both Messianic believers, the very first ones in the history of Israel to be married by an Orthodox Jew over there, by an Orthodox rabbi. Yeah. Oh man, you want to talk about people that know how to party, brother? you ain't partied till you've been to a Jewish wedding, man. I mean, it was unbelievable.
I'll tell you what, I've never been to one, but I've seen them, and they look like a lot of fun. They look intense.
Oh man, these people know how to party, brother.
Man, I've always loved Jewish like bakeries, the different kind of breads they have, the different pastries. My mother used to be a GM at this place called Beyond Bread. There's like only 2 of them. They're in Arizona. If you ever got a chance, Bob, when you're in Arizona, go to Beyond Bread. They have this thing called chocolate babka, and everything they have there, they make 100% from scratch, fresh every day. And this babka gets sold out within the first hour. It's this bread loaf that's infused with chocolate, and it has almonds on top of it. And you take it and you slice it and you put it in the microwave for like 5 or 10 seconds, and the chocolate melts and it gets super soft and it's all warm. Oh, it's so good. You have that with a nice tall glass of milk. It's amazing.
I live on bread when I'm over there because I'm not real crazy about Middle Eastern food, and just not. So I live on bread, and they got these guys that push these wheelbarrows. They're like a wheelbarrow, but they're actually an oven on wheels, and they bake the bread right there on the street while you're waiting. But there's no preservatives in it. I bought 6 big chunks. I don't know what they look like, a pretzel, and about 2 hours before I got on the plane to fly back. And when I got to New York, they were already moldy. I mean, there is no preservatives in that stuff at all.
Wow. It's like you eat it right then and there kind of thing.
Yeah, they take out, right there on the sidewalk, or in the old city, in the bazaar. I mean, it's incredible. The bread over there is phenomenal. See, I wish that we had more street food here in Cleveland. Yeah. Like, I remember when I went to New York, that's what I saw. There was street food everywhere. And I really enjoyed that because I'm always hungry. The only thing I didn't like is how expensive it was because it was New York City. But I'm always hungry. So I appreciate when there's just vendors all around me saying, hey, you want to eat? You want to eat? I'm like, yes, I want to eat. Give me some food. You don't know what expensive is till you go to Aruba. I was down there 2 years ago for a week, and got just a plain hot dog was $9, man. For like, holy mackerel. I mean, it's a beautiful little island, but boy, is it overpriced, man. Yeah, those tourist areas, they get you, man. They get you.
So Bob is doing good deeds, and he's driving his bike across the country. And Bob is actually we started a little thing for you, and we talked about it last week. And truth be told, guys, we just want to be able to change the world by showing examples of who we are and what we could do. So what we did is we created a Patreon for Bob. And what it does is, as he goes places, all the money that goes in there, all of it, except for the part Patreon keeps, is going to be going to Bob helping other people where he's at. So he can go in, and if we raise $100 today, and I'm using a very vague example, Bob will go, and he's going to buy dinners. He could go buy breakfast for people. He might see someone on the side of the street that just needs some new clothes and a meal and someone to talk to. He's going to go do it. And then next week, he's going to talk to us about how he spent the money and where he spread positivity and joy. He could do something as driving and literally buy $100 in socks. And if Bob wants to do that and feels that's where he's being compelled to go do something, he's out there to spread positivity, joy, and delight. He's bringing delight back to the United States and the world. And I'm grateful he wants to be a part of our network and do such a great thing. So that is his link. I'll share it one more time for everybody right here. Do yourself a favor, click on it, donate $1, donate $5, donate whatever you can and help bring delight to this world, because the truth is the only way we spread positivity is literally by being the example that's different. And Bob is already doing that. You're helping spread that. Jessica Dugas says, Aruba, Jamaica. Ooh, I want to take it to Bermuda, Bahama, come on, pretty mama. Iago, Montego, baby, want to take you. Perfect. And we have a new member already. Jessica Dugas just signed up. Businesses are people too. Read the description in Bob's Patreon as well, because it really is a good one. So, Bob, you are in Colorado for how much longer?
Until I'm not. I don't have any. I don't have any agendas, brother. I follow whatever I feel in my guts. What I do, man. I believe that in God, and when He tells me, when I feel like He's telling me to go somewhere, I just go, man. And I just follow what I feel like in my gut to do. I don't have any real agendas.
So if we plan a couple weeks out, Gavin and I should drive down to Alabama. You're going to drive up from Florida. And we're all, hello. Apparently the chair was in the way of the dog.
I'll get a hold of Animal and find out the exact dates. I know I'm leaving here on the 11th. I got to pick his old lady up at work and then meet him. And then we're going to try to make Amarillo, I think, the first night. But I'll get the date down when the wedding thing is over, when I'm going to be heading back, and we can arrange from there.
I love it. We're all meeting at the Dugas house. They have a big backyard from what I understand, so we're just going to camp out, Bob. Okay. Bonfires. Maybe I'll bring the dragon staff and spin fire for everybody just to entertain, because that's something I like to do for my own self and meditation. But I love how you're out doing these things. How many weddings have you performed?
Oh my God, probably 200-300 anyway.
Oh my God, that was a lot more than I thought you were gonna say. I'm curious. When you do weddings, do you rent a suit? Do you own a suit, or do you just strut your biker gear?
Brother, this is what I got.
All right.
I got about 4 changes of clothes. I mean, I used to, when I was doing the pastoring thing, I had a suit and all of that, and I wore it when I had to, but it's not me, man.
Yeah.
I mean,
I get that. And anybody who hires you to do this job, they know who you are and they know what to expect with you. So,
and nobody hires me. I don't charge for any of that stuff. If somebody wants to give me something for doing it, I'm fine with it. I've gotten everything from bounce checks to a couple $100 per wedding. You just marry people? Yeah, I don't charge nothing, man. I just don't. I don't feel right about doing it. I mean, if somebody wants to help cover my gas to get to the place and whatnot, that's all I care about. I never was in this for money. I did the pastor thing for 27 years. After 27 years, I still was only making $300 a week, man. So I've never been in this for the money. I don't like dealing with money. I mean, money's a necessary evil, but you do what you do. Yeah,
no, it really is. I get it.
It really is. Bob, so with traveling and with doing all that, apparently Brian Tracy's going to join us too now, which I'm super excited about. Cool. He is sitting here like saying, hey, do I get an invite? The only person that apparently is not invited is Brett Gordon, and he is invited, but I just don't see him driving across the country from Vegas.
Oh, you know? That ain't that far.
It ain't that far.
How far do you think that is? How many hours on a bike?
On a bike? The last time I did it, I went from Vegas to Birmingham, and it took me about 2.5 days. So that's not that bad. It's only about 1,800 miles to Birmingham from Vegas.
Well, that's not bad.
I gotta ask you: do you have like a special seat or buns of steel, or how do you manage sitting on the bike for that long?
I don't have ass anymore. I got callus, man. I got like 1/2 inch of callus on my ass. I don't have one anymore.
I believe it, dude. I believe it. That's a long time to sit on the bike. I used to go. I think the longest ride that I would do would probably be like 3 or 4 hours in a day, just straight. And I know at the end of that, and I had a really comfy seat. And at the end of that, I'd be like, all right, I need to walk around a little bit.
Yeah, no, I
Really?
got a pretty good seat. A brother in North, the same brother that bought the warranty for my bike and bought the wheels for my bike. He bought me a really nice seat with a backrest on it, and so I can still handle it. In 2015 and 16, I was doing 1,000 miles a day pretty regularly, between 8 and 1,000 miles pretty regularly. But I got a little older and a little tired, and now if I do 700 in a day, I've done a good day. If I don't have 300 by noon, I'm not a happy camper. But it is what it is. So, but
I get it.
Aren't there motorcycles for the long distance ride? It's meant to be where you can just cruise and stuff.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
Cruise control and all that stuff. I was actually going to buy one 2016 model because I had the fly-by-wire cruise control, all that good stuff. But when I saw the one I got, I felt in my gut like that's the bike I got to buy. I didn't know why. It took me about 3 years to figure out why I bought it, but. So I got one that doesn't have cruise control and it doesn't have all the fancy bells and whistles, but it goes down the road about 100 miles an hour without much problem. So
he says 100 miles an hour with no thought on it. Yeah. So this morning,
that speed limit says 65. That's just a suggestion.
Well,
that's in Ohio. That's in Ohio. He's in Arizona and Colorado. I think Arizona's speed limit is 75.
Well, it's 80.
I don't remember.
80 and 85 in a lot of places, like from Minnesota all the way out to Nevada. You run 80, 85 mile an hour all day long.
Yeah.
Bullwinkle is a beast.
He is. He's
the name of his bike.
I know. I love it. I forgot that, and then I read it, and I'm like, oh, that's right. Bullwinkle's the bike. Now, do you do all your own repairs too, pretty much?
Both my hands have been crushed. I can't do wrenching much anymore. I do what little I can, but no, I got so many brothers out here that are bike builders and just really great people. They've been taking really good care of me for 6 years because I really can't do the mechanicking thing anymore. I mean, I can do the minor stuff, but I got arthritis in both hands, and this hand was crushed in a backhoe about 9 years ago, and I don't have much strength in it. I mean, I can work the clutch, and that's all I care about.
Yeah.
I feel there's a story there.
Where?
How did you crush your hand in a backhoe? You can hear that coming. It has a beep.
Well, I had my property in New York logged off, and I had all these hardwood tree tops, and I had a good friend that was retired construction guy. He owned a big excavation business. He would actually fill mountains in where they mined out the coal. I mean, it was a huge thing. Well, he sold all his equipment but one backhoe and bulldozer and dump truck. And I had all this firewood that I couldn't get out because it was down in this swamp hole type thing. So I made a deal with him to 50-50 for the firewood. So he comes in there with his dozer, and it was a little small 450 case or John Deere. So we were pulling out 2 at a time. It was all I could handle. He wanted to try his backhoe because he's got this giant Caterpillar backhoe with extended bucket and all that crap. So we went down in there and hooked onto 5 of them. And we're pulling them out, and that machine was pulling right along, but one of them slid off to the side and started digging in. So I had him back up. I told him, I'll unhook the chain from here, swing your boom around. We'll grab a hold of that top and bring it over and set it on top of these other ones. So he backed up a little bit. I unhooked the chain. He swung the bucket around. I hooked it onto the top. He picks it up and puts it down on the top of the other ones. Lowered the bucket so he had slack in the chain, and I turned and I made eye contact with him and nodded, and he nodded back. So I reached in there and grabbed a hold of the hook to unhook it. And when I was doing that, he turned in his seat to see where he was on my logging road. And when he did, he bumped the down lever on the hoe, and it came down and it just peeled the whole back of his hand, like from here all the way up to here.
Oh my God.
Everything was broken. It was a mess. It was like close to 8 or 9 months before I was where I could use that hand again. It hurt like hell.
Yeah, they took you straight to the hospital, right?
Yeah. He wanted to take me in his dump truck, and I was like, Stan, I don't think that's a good idea, man. I need some morphine in this thing pretty bad, man. So
Yeah.
so I got him to call 911, and they come and took me to the hospital. Yeah.
Oh my
Wow.
gosh! I'm
It was
glad
like-
you're okay.
Yeah, about 300 stitches, and it was a mess.
Yeah.
All right.
I imagine.
You've done a lot of amazing things in your life and been an inspiration, and you have no complaints on a 300 stitch hand getting run over by a backhoe.
Yes.
Tell me, what is the weirdest bone you've broken?
The weirdest bone? Well, in 2015, I had a 2012 heritage right after my wife died. And I was over in North Carolina, and I was with an inexperienced rider who was following me. She had trouble in corners and whatnot. And I was trying to tell her, wherever you're looking is where you're going. So if you're in the corner and you're looking at the ditch, you're going to go in the ditch. Keep your eye in the center of the road. So we're coming down this little bit of a curvy road, and I checked my mirror, and she was behind me doing pretty good, coming around the last corner, and I'm leaning into the corner, and then the bike just started going into a wobble. My back tire just blew right there in the corner. So I ended up doing an end over end. I tried to throttle out of it, but it got worse, and I knew I was going to go down. So I just pulled my left leg up, and I tried to climb on top of the scooter and ride it like a sled, but I don't know what happened. The engine guard hit the ground or something, and it was a jolt. And I remember going through the windshield and flying through the air. I was upside down in a somersault, and my bike was right next to me, just a little bit behind me. And I come through the somersault, and I saw a road sign, and I was in a Superman pose, and I saw that sign coming at me, and I went, "Oh, that's gonna hurt." So I just closed my eyes, ready for impact, and it didn't happen. And then I felt a hit on my chest and wet in my face. And I thought, well, I just busted my chest open. That's blood. I guess this is how it ends. And I remember saying, I guess I'm okay with it. Here we go. And I must have blacked out because I woke up choking, and I was laying in a ditch full of water, and two things were simultaneously happening in my brain. My foot was on fire. It hurt so bad, and I mean, I was in the middle of the swamps, and there's water moccasins, and I'm laying in a ditch. I was like, both my wrists were sprained, and I'm trying to crawl out of the ditch. The chick is just pulling up, and she's freaking out. I'm like, help me get my shoe off, man. She was freaking. I had to keep my act together so she didn't totally lose it. Yeah. So anyway, I had her untie my shoe, and she pulled it off. It hurt. Oh my God, it hurt. Well, I reached down. I got sat up on an elbow, and I got my thumb hooked in the sock and pulled it off. My big toe was like already black, and oh God, it was huge. And the second toe was cut off, just hanging by a piece of skin. The third toe was crushed, and like every bone on the right hand side of my right foot was just a mess.
Obliterated.
So, it was bad. So the docs told me that was the 25th of November. And the docs told me it'd be probably 7 or 8 months before I'd walk without a cane or crutches, and it'd be over a year before I'd ride again. And I just said, oh, hell no. So that was the 25th of November. And I got the insurance check from the bike that I totaled on January the 4th, I think it was, and I bought the motorcycle I got now on January the 5th, and I was riding again. So like 8 weeks after they told me 8 months or a year, I was back on the road. I mean, I hurt like hell. My wrists were still sprained, so I was just like cupping the clutch and using my whole arm to clutch. My kids were like, "Dad, you can't do that." And then, watch me. So I just
do you think that it's your the fact that you were able to be accepting of death and accepting of your end so naturally during that situation that allowed you to overcome the anxiety that most people would have with getting back on. Like a lot of people after that, they wouldn't get back on a motorcycle at all.
Well, you know, the first time I got back on, the first time I jumped on the one I got now, for about 20 minutes, I was a little bit nervous. When I hit a corner, all I could think of was, oh crap, you know. But you just got to get over it. I mean, I don't care about, I'm not worried about dying. You know, my faith is settled, and I know who I am. I know where I came from, where I'm going, and it is what it is. You know, this isn't life. This is existence, man. I'm ready for the transition to life whenever it comes, man. And I don't care how it gets here. I mean, I ain't excited about doing it, but everybody's got to do it. So here we go.
Yeah, that's something that I talked about. That's something I talked about a couple weeks ago. Actually, is before you can actually live, you need to die before you die, and I think that you most definitely have done that to the point where you can truly appreciate life to the best of a human capability, and it's shown in how you treat other people. Not only just how you treat yourself in death, but how you treat other people as well. Absolutely. You completely understand that this is just temporary, and that's okay.
I'm a firm believer that true life only comes through a resurrection, man. You have to let the old stuff die to become a new person, you know. So, I hope I've already done that.
I think you do. I think you're doing great things. Now, I laugh because, like, you're telling this story so calmly, and you're like, I'd stay calm for her and all that. And I was going to ask Gavin the same question. What was, like, the funniest bone you've ever broken? And now I don't think I want to know anybody else's stories because yours was, like, so much like, he's like, I, like, saw the sign. I'm surfing on the accident. I positioned my body to go over it. I think I'm dying. I accept it. Like, he has this, like, all planned out. Like, I'm like, damn, I can't tell a story like that.
Well, I've never broken a bone, but I've had near-death experience probably a dozen times now. All in different ways. I've almost drowned in both fresh and salt water, which is a huge difference for those who don't know because of the high sodium content. It enters your lungs differently. Salt water, you more suffocate, where fresh water, it bursts all your blood vessels and you bleed from the inside. But I've done that. I've been set on fire with gasoline on my face and chest. That was pretty awful.
Why? I'm going to keep asking till I get an answer.
Why shut the hell up and I'll give you an answer, damn it.
Okay, I will shut myself up. I know everybody.
It was a bonfire accident where I was probably like 15 or so, and maybe I was 14, and the wood had been wet from the night before, so I got the flame started. I went to pour what I thought was oil onto the flame. I've done that a million times. You know, you pour it on there, it takes a second, and then it lights up. Well, it turns out it was gas in the tank, and it started to go up the spout, and I freaked out, and I threw it, and it splashed me on my face and chest. I had nearly third-degree burns on my body. Thankfully, I healed from it. I basically just spent the summer in a basement drinking Gatorade and putting, like, burn cream all over me and stuff like that. It was pretty awful, so I did that. My motorcycle that I had, I got hit by a car while I was riding it. This lady cut through a turning lane, ran straight into me. I got up without a scratch, and then I got cut off by a semi last winter during a snowstorm, and it spun my car out on the highway. And I remember actually, while you were talking about your story, Bob, I had flashbacks because I remember going backwards down the highway at 60 miles an hour, thinking to myself, all right, I'm going to die. All right, let's do it. This is it. And I just kind of accepted it. And literally, I saw the sign. I saw a street sign that I was getting ready to hit. It was like a speed limit sign or something. And I thought to myself, well, I don't want to hit that. And so I turned the wheel again and completely missed it. And you know those huge signs that tell you where the exits are?
Right.
I went down into the ditch. And I was like, all right, I'm bracing for impact. I'm pumping the brakes, and then I just slam on the brakes at the very end, and I just tapped it. And I thought to myself, holy shit, how am I going to get this car out of here? But I love your story, though, because it's very, for me, it's really relatable. Like, once you've had so many crazy experiences, you're all like, all right, you know what? This is just for now, and that's perfectly okay.
Yeah.
So Brandon, I've not broken any bones yet. Thankfully, I hope I never do, because I've seen it and nothing pleasant seems to come from it.
No.
But I've danced with death more times than most people would be comfortable with. I've danced with death to the point where I'm comfortable now with it.
I hear chicks really dig scars, but so far I haven't found them.
Yeah, right. You got to have like an aesthetically pleasing scar. Like I saw this chick online, and she had this scar on her lip that went straight down. It looked like somebody like took a knife and just and it was the coolest, most badass scar I'd ever seen. And she had like this bob cut. But you got the mustache, so we can't see it.
Yeah, well, it's there. I was playing Cowboys and Indians with my older brother when we were like 6, and he had a bamboo fishing pole for a spear. And I was hiding behind a stump, and I thought he ran by, and I stood up to look around like that, and all of a sudden, bam, took me right in the lip. 6 stitches at 6 years old.
Yeah, thankfully, all my scars are up here as far as everything goes.
Yeah, I got a lot of.
That's taken in a totally different direction.
Yeah. I'm still pretty on the outside somewhat.
Inside's broken, outside's fixed. I love it. Okay, outside's pretty. Yeah. So I was just checking my phone while Bob was texting or telling us his story. And Bob, I got good news, buddy. Your Patreon's $5 short of $100 already.
Oh man!
And the audience has been out there already getting ready to share good stuff. Thank you everybody who shared. I have 5 emails of different people who shared, and the Rising Phoenix, I know you're saying, I think I did. You did, and we received it. Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen. I will make sure Bob gets this after the show today, and he's going to tell us what he did. He's going to be out there spreading positivity, spreading delight, spreading joy. Bob, I'm excited to see. Do you have anything in particular in mind you're going to do right off the bat? Now that you have an idea how much you have.
Right. Actually, Sunday, I have a really good friend out here. I spoke at a veterans event at a Harley dealer here. I think it was 3 years ago. I had something I was going to share, but when I got up to talk, I felt in my gut that ain't what I need to share. So I shared about my experience with PTSD and how I thought I could whip it myself, and it was literally killing me. So I sought professional help. I have a really good friend. He's FBI agent, retired now, but he did a lot of, he was a hostage negotiator. He works with the vets in Walter Reed, and he's a licensed counselor and whatnot. So he helped me so much. But I shared about how the smartest thing I ever did was to go and ask for help, because I had to. I mean, the stigmatism, you guys talked about that yesterday with the mental illness thing, So I went and I sought help, and I shared that with about, I don't know, I think there were 400 or 500 people there, and like 60 or 70, I don't remember what the number was, responded. Well, this brother was one of them. And he came and talked with me a couple of different times. And but anyway, he went into detox to get off drinking. And while he was in there, he got sick, and they thought it was just coming off of the alcohol, because he was a heavy drinker, but he went into total organ failure. And I was supposed to do a Zoom or FaceTime wedding because he really wanted to be married before he died. But he went into a coma, so we didn't get to do it. So this Sunday, we're having a memorial. It would have been his 50th birthday this Sunday, and they're doing a memorial ride for him. And I forget what the entrance thing is. But anyway, I really wanted to make a donation because all of the proceeds are going to I forget what it is, a Wounded Warrior type project. So I wanted to do that, right? I wouldn't, without the help that you guys are giving me, man, I'd just be able to make it there. I had so much stuff happen this month. It was just crazy. But yeah, I'm going to go up there. I want to support this brother. I want to support the Wounded Warrior Project thing that they got going on there. There's a lot of brothers out there, veterans that need help, and I do what I can, and I can for them.
That'd be amazing, man. If you're able to, I'm not sure what the protocol is there, but if you can, take some pictures and stuff.
Man,
show the community and everything.
I'll take pictures, videos. I'll have them posted on my Facebook page. I'm hoping it's going to be a really good event. This brother was such a good brother, man. I mean, we had this connection. It was almost immediate. First time he came to talk to me, he just broke down and he said, I've never talked to anybody about this before. But what he shared the other day really got at me. So we sat down and had a couple of really good talks, man. I mean, the guy's heart was huge, but he just struggled with his own demons, you know. So,
and I think that's what people need sometimes is, as scary as it can be to be vulnerable like that, to a complete stranger especially. For whatever reason, a lot of people find it easier to confide in complete strangers rather than loved ones or somebody that like they care about, or like a friend or a family.
Yeah, and everything, you know, it's been the story of my life, even before I was a believer. I could never understand why. I mean, people just walk up to me and just start, I mean, they just pour their guts out to me. I mean, Brian witnessed that in North Carolina or North Dakota. And it's just one of those things, you know, and it's, you wouldn't believe the things that I know, and I'm taken to the grave with me, man. I mean, I appreciate the ability, the people's trust in me, and the confidentiality. That's a huge issue, man. So everything that's said to me in private goes to my grave with me. You know, I just love people, and I don't want to see people suffering or hurting. So I'm like a toilet. Come and dump it. I know how to flush it, empty out, you know, do whatever you need to do, get it off your chest. I'm a sounding board. I'll do whatever I can do for you. I try to always put myself in another person's shoes. Like when I'm in a restaurant, if a waitress is being kind of a pain in the ass, I don't get angry at her. I'm thinking, man, I wonder what happened to her this morning. Did her old man leave? Is her kid sick? And I mean, I try to give people.
Well, that's what it is, man. I know when I was waiting tables, anytime that I was working in a restaurant in general, if I was in a bad mood at work, 9 out of 10 times it had nothing to do with work and everything to do with something outside of it.
Right. Yeah. People have issues, man. And you know, we just have to give grace. If you want grace and mercy in your life, you got to sow it, man, because you do reap what you sow. So I need all the grace and mercy I can get, man. So I give as much as I possibly can. You know? Yeah.
Well, we have absolutely burned through that segment. Time is up.
Like
we're going to be moving on. Yeah. Oh my God. I love it.
I love Bob. Bob, you're doing great things. You and I are connecting after the show to make sure we get this out. I look forward to seeing how you're taking this and giving it to others and spreading positivity, love, and delight. So, ladies and gentlemen, the link is right there for the Patreon. Bob Seymour. I know you're going to hang out backstage because you always watch the rest of the show and comment. I love it. Guys, spread love, spread positivity. This was Bob Seymour. Our next guest. Excuse me as I hiccup there. Our next guest is Geoffrey Klein. Geoffrey did a TED Talk recently, but he spent 25 years helping correct the right message to the right audience for the greatest impact. His experience spans from being legally trained to working with Seth Godin to working with major motion pictures such as Paramount Pictures and MGM Studios. He's coming here today to teach us about how ADD and how Brandon is never able to sit still and how to actually make the best of ourselves with not having to worry about all the other craziness of life going around us. And we're going to see if Brandon can focus longer than a goldfish today. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you again, Bob. And it is exciting to introduce Mr. Geoffrey Klein. Hello, how are you, Geoffrey?
Hey,
I'm great. Gavin, Brandon, thanks so much for having me. A hard act to follow from Bob. He's pretty intense and pretty amazing.
Absolutely. Hey, we're grateful to have you, but yeah, he's definitely there's a reason why we have him on regularly. That being said, we've seen your stuff and we definitely know that you can follow up.
Yeah. And what he showed me, you know, in that conversation as I was listening, you know, it's all about story. So the stories that he tells, the people that he meets, you know, Gavin telling us about how he lit himself on fire. I don't know if you lit yourself or you were on fire. So
I indirectly lit myself on fire.
I had to cut him off because I'm like, wait, you were lit on fire with gasoline. This sounds like a felony. Who do we need to call to get arrested? Like, I felt so bad. He's like, I'm on fire with gasoline. Now, tell us. All right. So first off, we watched your TED Talk together, and
thank you very much.
Oh, thank you. You tell stories and you teach people about telling stories. Why is that so essential for being individuals and people?
Well, I say my mission is to tell and share awesome stories and help others tell them. So I look at it that what are we trying to do as human beings? And for me, the most important thing we're trying to do is connect. It's all about connecting with people. And how do we do that? Well, the way to connect with people is through, effective communication. And then the next layer is, well, what's the best way to communicate? And the answer is by telling a story. And so that's kind of where I've been oriented from. As a young little kid, I used to write stories. I used to tell stories. My parents like to tell the joke that I would go see a movie, I'd come back, and it would take me as long to tell them the story about what the movie was about as it would be if they went to go see the movie. So I've always been, and I think it's my love of movies is where the foundation of good stories comes from, and my love of when you see a movie that you love and it's really compelling and it takes you on that journey. And again, that's how you connect with people. So if you're trying, to connect with people in a meaningful way, the best way to do that is communicate through telling a story. That's my worldview. And so and the great part about it is it's not just a kind of an academic theory, that there's actually hard science behind why that story is so effective.
Yeah, I completely agree with that. I think this is what I was talking about earlier when he asked me what did I think of it, of the TED Talk. I said, well, I think that you've pointed out something that is seemingly so obvious that it's been overlooked by everybody, because if you look all throughout history, anytime that people talk about their day, religion, any kind of message that they really want to get through, we do tell it as a story, sitting around a campfire or the dinner table and just talking about stuff very in great detail in order is something that's been very big throughout all of human history and communication, but we just don't realize it. It's one of those things that we almost take for granted, and it's one of our most powerful tools.
Yeah, and when I talk to businesses about it, that's exactly what I say. We've been telling stories forever as a human, beings. You go back to cave drawings and you go back to the campfires you just said. And first got kind of the structure back, with Aristotle. But the thing is that, again, just think of your own life. And I always say that what happens a lot of time is, when we're little kids, that's how we share things. We tell stories.
Yeah.
And something happens, I think, when we grow up, we still tell a lot of stories more personally than business. And so part of what I do in my business is hey, business people, just because you're in a business doesn't mean that you shouldn't use the most effective way to communicate with people. And it's also about the fact that when you're trying to tell that story, recognizing the audience is the most important, person in the story, and really orienting and making sure it resonates with them. But yeah, it's just it's something that we naturally do, and I think again, it's just something, as you said, we take it for granted that it's something, and it's anyone can tell a good story. It's just you need to recognize how to do it.
Yeah.
Is that why sometimes we feel, I use the word feel, but it's like we connect with like certain movies more than others? Is the story connected and it made it feel more like our own? And that's why even with people, like they're telling their story, like Bob's telling his story, we can feel that connection of wanting to help others, wanting to give to other places. Is that why people like attend things and go to other things and connect with things in such different ways?
Yeah, I mean, again, when you look at the science, the kind of neuroscience behind it, because that's what the studies have been done. There's this concept called neurocoupling that I think is fascinating, which is when you're telling a story, the brain activity of the teller mirrors that of the listener. So that if I tell you guys a story about me kicking a ball, your motor cortex actually activates. So in terms of connecting with someone, both on a sensory perspective, and I was thinking about when Gavin was talking about, lighting on fire with gasoline, I started to have those sensations of the smell of gasoline and what that would be like. And so it's about that, chemical connection that we have. And the emotional. So when you tell someone a story, as opposed to just transmitting information, there's a bunch of different enzymes that are and hormones that are elevated. But the two that I talk about is cortisol and oxytocin. So cortisol is the fight or flight, that stress hormone. And when you were mentioning before about your orange goldfish and our short attention spans, the great thing about cortisol is it makes you alert. So it requires, your brain is telling you, hey, wait, pay attention. So all the time that we're going through life, we're being bombarded with information, what I call infobesity. By telling a story, that's how you combat it, because your brain is saying, hey, someone's telling a story, you need to pay attention. And there's a chemical in your body telling you to do that. At the same time, there's a rise in oxytocin, also known as the love hormone. And this is the emotional connection that a lot of marketers talk about in terms of, and you were just talking about why we like certain things, because now we're connecting with the journey and the story of someone on an emotional level. And that's why stories are so powerful in terms of resonating and then also retaining. Why we remember those important stories. And so I look at that from a marketing perspective. What are you trying to do? Make sure that people understand what you're talking about and that they remember you. And that's when, if you look at the best commercials and things, the marketing in general, they're telling stories that people remember and connect with.
So how do you think like addictive substances that change your the chemicals in you can change your attention span, can change how much you are able to comprehend things? Like, for instance, I know a lot of people who either drink a lot or smoke marijuana a lot or drink coffee a lot. Coffee is probably one of the most popular addictive things that are out there. How would this affect your attention span, and then how well you're able to get into, or how you said like you were able to smell the gasoline, like how would that affect these sort of subconscious senses?
So I want to make very clear, I am not a medical professional.
Fair enough.
What I'll be sharing with you is my sense. I haven't studied it or have specific, expertise in that element. But the difference between the two things you talked about, and again, being CBD people, you would probably have a better sense of this than me, because I know there's two different types generally in terms of a stimulant versus a relaxant. And so, I think we can classify drugs generally in those two categories. Either that, they're going to slow you down or they're going to, stimulate you. And I think the thing is that when you slow down, your capacity for paying attention is somewhat, goes down, but you're less distracted probably because you're now, you're kind of letting that noise kind of flow over you. So in some ways, you're actually attuned a bit more. I think when you have stimulants, it's probably harder to pay attention. I mean, I was comedians who've done things about how when people are on coffee, they're kind of like a squirrel. Actually, he was talking about cocaine, but but again, same root. Same root. So I think stimulants make it where you're really distracted because your adrenaline ends up taking over. And so while it's important to pay attention, and therefore the cortisol is going to help you, I think there's probably a threshold where you go too far, and then instead of focusing on one thing, you're focused on everything, and therefore you're not focused on anything. So that's my non-medical take on it. And I guess generally I would say, I have young children, and so I try and steer them away from any kind of recreational substances unless it's illegal for them to do so. It's my PSA for the moment.
I appreciate that. I can appreciate that. Brandon,
I tried to unmute
out right now.
Well, I was trying to unmute myself and I accidentally removed myself because the birds are chirping and I just had to sit outside today. If a person wants to become a better storyteller, they want to actually attract people's attention and get them to hear what they're doing. They have a message, but they're not sure how to get it out. Where would a person start to actually learn to be just a better storyteller in general?
Yeah, I have a couple thoughts on that. I mean, I think number one is practice. So anything that you want to get good at is about practice. So, I did that TED Talk a lot before I went on stage. And so I knew it really, any kind of presentation, whether it's a story or otherwise, the more you know your material, the more comfortable you are, the better delivery will be. So if you're going to be sharing the story on video and things like that, there is a nature of, having it, knowing your material. But where I always start in terms of how to tell a better story is about what I call the 11th commandment. And I'm an adjunct, and this is what I teach my students. I said, if you learn nothing from this course, remember the 11th commandment. Know thy audience. And again, this is where I always tell people to begin. So whatever story you're going to tell, if your story if you don't know your audience, then that story, you won't know what story to tell. You have to understand your audience, understand what they care about, understand their pain, what resonates with them, to know that your story is going to matter. Because if you tell a story that's disconnected to your audience, then you've just wasted your time and their time. So I always say, start with the audience. And then in terms of telling a better story, I think, again, we have people who are telling stories and they meander. They go on this long, and and they lose people because, again, we know we have short attention spans. So I think it's important that when you're telling a story, at least, officially, presentation or things like that, is to think of the structure. So going back to Aristotle, back in 350 BC, he came up with what most people use, the 3-act structure: beginning, middle, and end. And, you can do that in lots of ways. And again, when you're thinking about, okay, what stories, think about, okay, where do we start? Where do we go? And where does it end? A lot of writers will say, if you're going to write a novel, you're going to write a story, think about the ending first, and then recognize how you're going to get there. Because if you don't know where you're going, then you won't know which path to take. And I guess the other thing about stories is, what's the point? What is the point of the story? And I think the other thing about story that, they talk about is conflict. So you guys are talking about positivity, and I love it. Your kind of goal and aim is to share more positivity. And interesting, when you think about Bob and some of the stuff he was talking about, and Gavin and his, near life death experiences, all those resonate in some ways because there's a contrast between good and bad, and that contrast or that conflict is core in terms of telling a story. So that because if you have a story and it's like everything was great, and then everything was great, and then everything was great, and then everything was great, and everything was great, you're going to bore people. You want something where you go, everything was great, and then it was horrible, but then it was okay, and then it was amazing. And so having that structure in how you tell a story is critical, because again, we talk about, Joseph Campbell, the journey of the hero's journey. We need to be able to go along with that. We need to be able to connect and care. And if something's not happening to someone, if they don't have a hook into why we should care about this character, and there's lots of elements of stories, character and setting, and but for me, it's about knowing your audience, and then what do they care about, and then trying to find a way to connect with something that they care about in the story that you're telling.
Absolutely. I think actually a wonderful, because one of the things that always stuck out to me that you just said was thinking about the ending first. Mm-hmm. And one of the most successful people that I could think of that popped into my head when you said that is actually comedian. I just had his name. It's the coffee. It's making me lose my train of thought. I'm all squirrely right now.
So I don't drink coffee.
I know. I usually don't.
Is he a current comedian?
He is Dave Chappelle, comedian Dave Chappelle. The way he writes his jokes, and if you listen, all of his jokes.
I agree. We should be embarrassed. Don't know Dave Chappelle.
Yeah. But the way he writes all of his jokes is he writes the ending first. He just has a book full of punchlines.
Right.
And then when he wants to write a new joke, he just finds his punchlines and figure out, okay, how am I going to get there? And he has these amazing, elaborate stories that are just set up after punchline after set up, just back and forth. And that's all he does. He doesn't write the jokes. He just writes the punchline and then goes from there.
And if you look at the really good comedians, because I think they are amazing storytellers, the ones that we love, that's all they're really doing is sharing stories. I'm a big fan of Jim Gaffigan, and one of the things I like about his material, aside from just I think he's clever. I mean, he's that observational humor, talking about his 5 kids and all that craziness. Yeah. But what he does really effectively, because I've been listening a little bit recently, that a lot of comedians do, which is they're telling a story that you think is going to go this way, and then it goes that way, and it's that. Again, that change, that contrast that makes for a good story. So you're like going along the story and you're like, okay, and then it's like, oh, that twist. that keeps us, and I'll give you the silly example because, if someone says to me, hey, do you know Gavin? I'm like, Gavin? Oh yeah. Is he, he's about 20 years old and he likes hats. He's like, yeah, I don't know him. Again, it's when you think you're going to be a certain place and then you flip at the end. And that's the punchline where people take you. And that's the beauty of a good story, is that you think you know where it's going and then you twist and change at the end.
Yeah.
Be unexpected.
Bo Burnham directly acknowledges that in his song. He's a singing comedian. In his song, What's Funny? He says in the lyrics, he says, if you want to be a comedian or like a song comedian, then give yourself a slight voice inflection, then take a Viagra and slap him with a rock hard misdirection.
Right.
Is the lyric. Yeah.
That's
pretty,
in
where you're going.
Yeah.
Pretty poetic. We'll say that's poetic and move on.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Oh, so what about, like you said, I love how you're saying start with the end and all that, but at the same point, the story sometimes is starting with the end is essential because you have to know where you're going, but how to build that story if you are if you already know the end, you might miss some of the important parts. And to build a story, like you said, in your TED Talk and here, you have the dip and then the back up. What if somebody doesn't see their dip? How do you make your story interesting? Make it up?
Well, I guess the thing is that you might tell a different story. So it's, if you're not finding that it has that, journey, and it's you're like, okay, I was here and then I was there. But generally you start someplace and you go another place. And if there's no up or down, then that's probably not as powerful story as it could be. So one of the things is maybe think about a different story to tell. What a lot of writers and comedians and storytellers do, they go through a process where they basically brainstorm all the different kinds of stories they could tell. And so I guess people don't realize how many, there's a huge volume of stories we all have just by being who we are, living in our lives. And I think, again, one of the things I haven't mentioned that's super important about telling stories is to be authentic. Our radar, for the BS radar, as I call it, is higher than ever. Yeah. And so being genuine and authentic really does matter. Now, someone asked me the other day, does that mean I can't make up a story? No, it doesn't. But just don't try and fool someone, don't misrepresent. Fictional stories are amazing. Again, we talk about movies, and I don't have any problem with people telling, stories that aren't necessarily based on truth, because I think, we think about mythology and allegory and we think about fables. There's plenty of room for applying those principles and lessons from non-real stories, but they still need to be authentic in the message that they're sharing. And again, I wouldn't want someone to come to me and say, and tell me a lie and pass it off as a truth. And I think that's the area. It's okay. And the other thing I think that is important to note is being authentic is much more important than being perfect. And I think in our kind of social media craze, showing our best selves, and one of the things that a lot of social media strategists will tell you is that oftentimes, those stories of failure, of not getting it right, of being vulnerable, actually play much better than the ones that everything is great. And I think, again, when we talk about that structure, it's about, you tell the kind of failure, and then the end is about how you came out of it, how you overcame it, or whatever it may be. So I think, again, it's a lot of people often miss stories that would be very effective because they're like, oh, no one wants to hear about when I screwed up. They want to hear about when I triumphed. And the answer is no. They want to hear people, because that's how we connect. If I say, I made this really stupid, business decision, or, oh, I did this, I really messed up with my friend. We all have, because we're all human. And I think that's the goal of effective stories, is about finding the human quality within each story, because that's who we are. Again, the emotional and the sensory. And life is not always pretty, and that's okay. And I think that's an area to mine for good stories. And again, you look at Bob, we had it today. You look at Bob and you look at Gavin's stories, they weren't like, hey, let me tell you about when I really succeeded. No, we heard about, near death, and we heard about missing toes and, things that were, not necessary. I started thinking about, like, where are my scars? Well, I have a scar here from when I got burned by an oven. I got a scar here that looks like a bullet wound, but it was a dog. Yes, right. Like, I got a scar here for when my brother says that I fell, but I think he pushed me.
My brother says that I fell?
Well, the story, so I was about 4 years old, and my brother and I were playing in a little hallway with one of those big red rubber balls. Now, my brother Peter is a few years older than I am. And so we were kind of passing the ball, and the ball bounced and hit me, and I fell. And so my version is that he meant to hit me to fall. And he's like, no, you were just clumsy and you fell. So that's again, perspective of how the story is told. Now I fell,
right?
And I got up and I'm bleeding. And Peter goes, you're bleeding. I'm like, no, I'm not. He's like, you're bleeding. I went up and I reached up, and as soon as I saw the blood, I burst into tears. But I then went to the doctor. I was in Queens visiting my grandparents, and I went to the doctor. And I'll never forget. He said to me, think of something you like. And for whatever at the time, and I still love strawberries. So I thought of strawberries as he was stitching me up. And this is the part that's kind of says a lot about me, which is, he said, I've done 9 stitches and I'm done. Do you want a 10th stitch to make it even? Now, if I had known that my company was going to be called 9 Dots, I would have said, no, 9 is perfect. But I wanted that 10th stitch to make it whole. Because as a little kid, I thought, I don't want it, I was into round numbers. So I live my life wanting things to have closure and have, be. Yeah. But so that's, sometimes you realize the stories. And I've forgiven my brother. He still says there's nothing to be forgiven for, but I forgive him for taking advantage.
Like, I forgive you. What the hell are you talking about? What do you mean? It's been 20 years. We're at Thanksgiving. Leave me alone.
I'm like, but you threw that ball at my feet, and that's why I fell. He's like, no.
Yeah.
Oh, that's funny. What is the 9 dots? I have that in my thing. Can you explain 9 dots?
I will explain it a little bit. It's a visual description, which is hard to do. But so when I decided to start my company, I went through like 85 names. I'm like to brainstorm that way. And I can't remember, I was Googling about certain things. I came across this concept called 9. It's based on a puzzle called the 9 Dots puzzle, where you have 9 dots, just like in the logo, and you have to connect all the dots with 4 straight lines without lifting up your pen. And without giving the secret away, part of the secret is how I came up with the name, because it represents how I approach things. When I talk about my own marketing, is what I try and help people do is connect the dots. It's the name of my podcast is called Connect the Dots. It's the name of my vlog. So, and I think again, it speaks to both as a marketer being resourceful. And then we were just talking about the stories are about connecting people. So that's part of what I do in my world, both, as when I'm creating content, but also in terms of what I do as a person in the world. I'm always eager to connect people, to connect those dots. So, and I think, we're talking about, like, in terms of being an effective leader and being an effective, human, is listening. And I love to talk. I do. But I also have gotten, as I've gotten more mature, only a little bit, recognize the power of listening. And because I like to delight people, that's how you delight people, is by listening. So hearing that, oh, wait, I'll give you a silly example. I was on Clubhouse today, and I'm listening to someone present, in a networking room. And he's like, happy funky Friday. And so he's like, so I actually went on YouTube very quickly, put in funk music. And so as he was talking, I unmuted myself and played. So he had funk music in the background as he was presenting. And again, it was just a little thing to bring some, humanity to what he was talking about. And again, I think it was appreciated. And again, just by listening, and then I guess the second part is taking action based on that. And again, it's that's what I like to do. Those little things can make a big impact. And so that's what I try and do in my daily life as well as in my business. And just related to that, there's one of the things I liked about kind of your whole concept about delighting people and positivity, which is totally my vibe, is a lot of people, think about, oh, I can't change the world. I think your mission is to make life better. And I may not change the world in a massive way, but I will be changing the world in a big way with every interaction. And that's my goal in life is, and my mission is to bring that enthusiasm and that positivity to the little interactions I have, not necessarily the big things, because I think those little things actually matter. There's a ripple effect as well in terms of if I go and make someone smile and feel better, they then take that good vibe and it spreads. And the opposite happens with negativity. So for me, it's about the macro, the small little.
Micro.
Moment.
You're right.
The small moments,
right, micro.
The small moments of impact you can have, and that's why I like the whole idea of random acts of kindness and things of that nature. And I always say, when you give and you do those positive things, it's in business, because I'm a professional. It's not just good business; it's also just good, and so that's kind of my perspective on that.
What do you think the dangers are of taking life, specifically in a business environment, too seriously? Because very clearly you do enjoy to have fun. You do enjoy to add this little spice into your life, whether it's at home relaxing or while you're working. What do you think some of the dangers are of not having that and just having a very strict, nothing but productivity, work kind of environment? Yeah.
So I always say to people that I take what I do very seriously. I want to deliver for my clients and create those animations that are going to help their business and do all those things. I'm serious about that. Yeah. But I don't take myself too seriously. And I think that, and the approach I take, part of having fun and being enthusiastic about what you do is so important. I think one of the sad parts about the world at the moment is a huge percentage of people are disengaged at work. I mean, part of that is organizational issues where they're not letting people be engaged. And part of it is that there's a convention where we don't see the freedom to do what we love. And I think that's changing with the whole rise of entrepreneurship and people pursuing their side hustles and then turning that into their main thing. There's definitely more opportunity now than ever to do what you love, because you can take that little niche thing and turn it into a business, which never before could have been done. But there's a huge danger to not having balance, let alone having some fun and enthusiasm, which is burnout and depression and anger and negativity. Like, those are the horrible things. If you're going and not having any fun and not self-care, if you don't take care of yourself, you're going to end up spreading that to other people. It's like a virus. Sorry, I couldn't help this. Yeah. And in the same way, you can spread a positive virus by being enthusiastic, by being happy, by being enthusiastic about what you do. And again, not necessarily everything you do, but in the way that you approach what you do. At least that's, again, that's my approach is, I work with people, and I when I talk to people, I'm like, listen, I'm not for everyone. And if you don't want to, if you're against having a little fun while we're working together, then I'm not the right person for you, because I'm going to bring my energy and my enthusiasm to what I do, because I love what I do. And so I find that clients generally do like having me, partly because they are so I work with some financial institutions and things that generally aren't known for having fun and being, having a lot of enthusiasm for what they do. And I think that's why they like working with me, because I bring it. I'm silly, and it doesn't mean that I don't take what I do seriously. And I think that's why they get both of things, that I take what I do really seriously. I work really hard to understand what their needs are. And at the same time, we can have fun, and I can bring enthusiasm and energy to whatever project we're working on and still crush it.
So absolutely. I'm sorry, Gavin, I'm jumping in here
No,
for a
you're
second.
good.
I got it. I have to. So you hit so many things. You heard me clap it. You saw me clapping and cheering for you because you and I are on the
heard you
same wavelength.
clapping.
I'm sitting in your backyard. Of course you heard me clapping.
I know.
The dog's looking at me like, why am I doing this? But you're 100% right. Negativity is so easy. We talk about this a lot on here, how simple it is. You could be standing in line and the person next to you goes, it's been raining for days. And like, that's how they connect with you, to complain right away. And when you switch it to a positive, most people don't keep the conversation going, or it does the opposite and they become glued to you. And I think that that's the thing, is people are striving for that positivity because they're looking for it. So a thing I like to say, and Gavin and I've been saying on here, is we're here to change the world, but that doesn't mean we're doing it. We're just giving you the tools to help change your world. Find that fire inside you and help make your actions be bigger than your words. And that's what we're here to do, is just change it. The other thing I saw a comment I wanted to make sure I brought up, and because it's a good one. Are politicians good storytellers? I saw that and was like, I think that's a good question to ask.
Some are and some aren't. So again, I remember very distinctly, I think it was the Obama, they create characters. So when you see politicians have learned, like, oh wait, if I talk about Joe, let me tell you about, and I think Obama did it, where it's like it gave a very personal, specific person to rally around, and told the story over and over again about this person and how what I'm going to do is going to help this person. So yeah, politicians are often, very good at storytelling, for good and for evil. So again, your politics, I'm not a very political person, but powerful stories can be used. It's like with great power comes great responsibility. Good old Spider-Man. And again, it's about positive stories. So and I don't mean stories that are always happy ending, positive. I mean stories that are going to contribute to someone's growth and happiness, and versus the stories that can be damaging or manipulative. So we talked about authenticity. Again, politicians, I think in general, again, we're making generalization there, people don't think they're authentic. So they may be good storytellers, but they're telling us stories to try and manipulate. And that's I think, and people make this argument too about some marketers. And I think the thing is that everyone has to figure out within themselves what being authentic means. And we all know when we're being authentic or not. And so it's a choice. So if you're going to go into politics, you got to just make sure that you're being authentic to yourself and not just trying to sell what people want to hear. And it's not easy. It's not easy. But I think, again, with marketing, with your personal life, with business, you want to be consistent and you want to be authentic. So it's another, consistency is really important in the way that you're telling your story. So because at the end of the day, what you're trying to do is you want people to connect with you. And if you tell the same kind of story, if you keep saying the same vibe and the same energy, then people are going to start to go, oh, I know what Brandon, he's that orange shirt guy. He's the goldfish guy. No, I'm just kidding. But they get to know your brand and they get to know who you are as a person. And that's when they start to connect with you. And I wanted to just quickly share something I looked up, which was, there's a whole thing about color psychology. And for the most part, orange is associated with adventure and risk-taking and vibrancy, and warmth and being social and optimistic. So just wanted to put that out there. That's at least one take on orange. I'm obsessed with purple. For lots of reasons, but again, people know I love purple, and that's again about being consistent. So you look at what I do. There's very few times you're going to see me where I'm not wearing purple. It's just and so with your story and with your messaging, being consistent is important. And again, I love the Oscar Wilde quote, which is, "Be yourself. Everyone else is taken."
That's pretty awesome. I've never heard that, but I do love that.
Yep. So with that, I'm laughing because I literally wrote in the comments, I'm the H in ADHD as you said that, because I'm always moving. And when I heard your statistic about how the average person has an attention span a second shorter now than a goldfish, I was like, I've lived in that atmosphere since I was born. I love it. But it really is true, because people's focus, people's energies, people they have their own way, and it's believing in themselves. Now, purple, I have to go back to for a second, because orange has been my favorite color for years. This is a nonprofit in Cleveland, Ohio that I support, and I love to go volunteer for. I saw them this morning, so I threw it on just to be nice for them, but it also fits me. With purple, is it because of royalty? Is it because of power? What is the reason you pick? Purple has a lot of different, it's the crown chakra. Is it the crown? Which one are you going with?
It's a combination of a couple things, but you hit one of them. Which it was, my mother passed away when I was very young, and that was her favorite color. So I think there's an element of honoring her in everything I do. It also happens to be my favorite color. So it coincidentally was my college colors. And my father went to the same college, Amherst College, where purple was their color. And so I probably have been subconsciously, told that I must love purple from a very young age because of that.
Yeah.
But then I married a British girl. And so I always say that it's my way of honoring the monarchy. I am a dual citizen. And so by having purple, I stay, on good terms with the Queen.
That's awesome.
It just, it makes me happy. And I think, again, whatever the color is, you have to, the thing I've done with it, and I think that some people find my wife as one of them, I'm all in on purple. I mean, I just switched my glasses. I used to have glasses that had purple on the side and had this color in the front. And I just switched. My wife finally said, yeah, you can do that, where the lenses are actually purple. The frames are actually purple. So now front and center, you get purple with me every day. And I wear purple, shades of purple, every working day. I got purple. I got 5 pairs of purple sneakers. It's what I, my watch, a gift from my wife, which is it's black and purple. Yeah, I don't know how well you can see it's got little circles. And then, both my speaking and my business brand colors are purple. So I'm all about the purple.
No, it's something you identify with. It's your brand. People know that it's you. I like that a lot. That's awesome.
I'm muted. I was reading the comments. I saw purple as my favorite color too. So with that, you've done TED Talks, you've done inspirational things. I was reading over your bio even more than I read to everybody, and I hate reading in public, but I did just because I liked you, and I was fascinated. When you're going to tell a story, how do you keep yourself, obviously the practice, but I'm skipping that one. Mm-hmm. How do you keep yourself from having anxieties, from fears, and knowing what you're doing is going to be providing a good message to inspire people?
Yeah. So as a speaker, and I think one of the things that people don't recognize is the most polished appearing speakers still get nervous. I think there's public speaking, they say, is one of the higher fear than death. When they've done studies, they say it's the number one fear for people. I don't have the fear as a typical person. I like the spotlight. I like being on stage, but that doesn't mean I go up there and have no fear and no anxiety. It's an element when you're speaking in front of 100 people. When you're speaking in front of 10 people, you can't help but we're human. And I think in terms of part of what I would answer that question, how do you get over that in terms of making sure that your message is heard when you're going to hopefully share, is being passionate about what you're talking about. So I think, again, if I were to give, a talk about something that I didn't believe in, it would be much, much harder. There are people who do it. And again, it goes back to that authenticity. If you believe deeply in what your message is, then you will, and you embrace that. That's, I think, how you get over it. Then all the practice and all those other things are ways, tactical ways to kind of cope with the physiological things. But I think mentally, if you recognize, I believe this, and I've had people who have shared, I love, and again, if you love something and you really are there to share it in service to those other people, then I think it becomes a lot easier, when people, if you're passionate, and again, I'm talking about, the power of story, and it's not, going to cure cancer necessarily, but it's my thing, it's what I believe is my contribution, is to help people embrace how you can connect with more people deeper by sharing powerful stories. That's what I got.
Love that. What was it like getting ready for the TED Talk? Because I know this is sort of that's like a rite of passage when you're a speaker. Like you get to do the TED Talk, all right, I've made it to the top in a sense. This is a very huge thing. And I remember you saying in it that you were talking about that little boy who had the gun being waved around him in that room, and he said he was excited and scared, and then you said that you felt the same way when going to TED Talk. You've also talked about how you rehearsed many times what you were going to say. How did I feel like your last answer just explained a bit of how you went about choosing what you were going to say, but what was your whole thought process when you were invited to do the TED Talk to when you actually got to doing the TED Talk and you're in the room and you saw all those people looking at you?
So the journey was from an intention. And I think intention is something that's really important in terms of taking what you love, taking what you believe in, and pursuing it. So whether it was working in the film industry, there's a lot of people in the world that I call the naysayers. When you say like, I want to do this, and like, oh, that's hard, and whether it was whatever it is, everyone has those naysayers in their life, and they're just people who, and my goal is to try and find the antidote to the naysayers. I once thought about having that as a book title, the naysayers antidote. And so I guess I had decided I wanted to be a speaker, and then as I started to present and speak to more, I was like, okay, I want to do a TED Talk, because again, it gives the credibility, but it also is a stage for me to share my kind of worldview and my belief. So I reached out to 2 different TED Talks. Philadelphia has not had an active one. I'm from Philadelphia, and that would have been the kind of ideal one. Oh, TED, but they haven't had a conference or done anything, and so whoever's running it hasn't been active. So I was like, okay, I can't do a Philly one. I didn't necessarily want to fly to Atlanta and do one. So there's one in the Lehigh Valley, which was near me, and there was one in Cape May where I spent a lot of time. The Cape May one had just finished booking the speakers when I reached out, because I didn't know their timetable. So they're like, hey, will you get in touch with us next year? And I'm like, yeah, if I don't find one. And then I reached out to the one in Lehigh Valley, and the process was they get the applications, and I think there was 100 plus applications. They then narrow it down, I think, to 30, and then they interview you, and then they narrow it down to 12, and they interview you again, and then they pick 6. So that's kind of the process that I went through. And again, all the different TEDx work slightly differently, but there's kind of that selection process. And I have to give a lot of credit to the woman who ran, Lynn Gensler, I think is her name. But she was both the licensee and the person, and she coached me. So one of the things that I think is super important in life, I believe that if you want to achieve something, having a coach is a huge way to do that. Now, the fact that my mother and my wife are both coaches is just coincidental. But you think about sports, and to get better, you could be a great athlete, but if you have a great coach, then you can really accelerate and elevate yourself. And I think that's true of any endeavor you have. But she really took my talk from being what I thought was good to way better. And part of it was by challenging me. Again, if you want to achieve something, you don't want just a bunch of yes people around you, because that's not going to push you to be better. And so that last story that I had as an example, where I kind of flipped it on the audience, wasn't what I originally had written. I had written another story about my kids, and she basically said, it doesn't work. And I was like, but that's my children. It's, I took a little, but thankfully I was in a space where I was willing to accept that coaching. And try and, because I was looking at it not personally, but about the greater good of how I can make my talk better. And I think that's something that's also important about both, again, not just coaching, but feedback. So I also shared it with some of what I would call trusted advisors, people that I knew would take it and would give me honest, helpful feedback to make it better. And so that was invaluable. And so the things that made, I think, the process better was taking something that I had that was good. I thought it was pretty good, and I could have done it and it would have been okay. And having the contributions by others to make it better, so that when I go out there on stage, what I'm sharing isn't just a product of what I've created. It's a product of what I've created with the help of others. And I think that's, we don't need to go it alone. I don't think anything should go alone, and having your tribe or whatever you want to call it is super important in anything that you do. And then in terms of the experience itself, so, there's a green room and we're in the back and with the 5 other people. I knew one of them a little bit, which I think was helpful because there was a friendly face there. And I'm like, oh, Jen, hi, and it was actually her second TEDx talk. So she had already been through it and she was kind of like, I guess, the veteran there helping us. And there was one of the speakers was like a 19-year-old kid talking about AI. It was, and again, so there was an environment that was very supportive. And again, I credit the people who run it because it's not always the case. And I know people who've had experiences where some TEDs they've been involved with were not that well run. So I got lucky that the one that I happened to do was an environment that made sense. And again, I think the process of me, she had asked, Lisa had asked, are you willing to, when I first interviewed with her, and she said, I think you have something here, but are you willing to work and push to make the idea better? And I said, yeah, not knowing if I was or I wasn't. And then, it comes to that moment and it's, nerves. I had a playlist of music, my pre-TED music playlist, which had, I think, started with some kind of calming stuff and then built up to kind of like getting me. And I, it's funny, there's a documentary with Anthony Robbins called I'm Not Your Guru. And you see before he goes on stage drinking something like some vitamin, whatever. And I'm like, what's he got there? But I had gotten into essential oils a little bit. I'm not. And so I actually had put on peppermint oil, 10 minutes before, which is supposed to make you feel kind of energized. And I didn't want to be, woo, that's, but I wanted to make sure that the energy was there, like I didn't want to, story is so powerful. I wanted to have some energy. And so the combination. So I think, again, you have to know what works for you and work. And then what was great is I do like being in front of a crowd. I do, my wife would say, you love the spotlight. And so there's an element of when I walked on stage and seeing these people, I was like, that helped me. Whereas other people, it might scare them. I was energized by them. And when you get that first laugh, or that first, response,
that encouragement.
You get in the zone and you just flow. And what I was really happy about was, again, I'd practiced a bunch, but I think I gave one of my better performances on the night. So I got lucky there too. Sometimes, any given night as an artiste that performs, you have good nights, you have bad nights. The fact that I had a pretty good night on the one where it's been recorded, it was, again, stroke of luck. But I like to share something that I call smart luck. So dumb luck is walking down the street, looking down, there's $5, you pick it up, you're lucky. Smart luck is putting yourself in a position to be successful. So I always use the example, you want to be an actor? Take some acting classes. That's how you can get yourself, you want, and I think intention is important about saying what it is you want, because you never know where that connection, where someone will help connect the dots to something you want to do. And so I think, again, putting yourself, the intention and then share and being vulnerable enough to say, yeah, I want to do a TED Talk. Oh, I know someone who runs a TED Talk, or whatever, fill in the blanks. But by speaking your truth, even of your aspirations, you'll find much more successful than if you, and it's not always easy. I think the hardest part for people now is figuring out what they want to do. I've got, twin daughters who are almost 16, and the world is their oyster, which is both a blessing and a challenge, because I don't know, I can do anything. And so it's about, well, you find what you love to do. And that's something that doesn't always come easy. And I've had this, crazy variety in my career. But it's always been about helping, trying to communicate effectively to people. And so now I get to do it in what I think is the most powerful way, with visual content. And creating animations to me is like my joy. So for me, it's again, being clear about what it is that you want to try and do, and then being intentional and just asking for the help when you need it. So that's a long-winded answer to how did my TEDx talk go. But
I don't think you could have said it better. I appreciate you going into depth with it. I'd rather you do that than just be like, I drank a lot of water and got a good night's sleep beforehand.
So we only have a few minutes left in the show, and what we do is
you muted yourself.
We only have a few minutes left in the show, and what we do here, I'm sharing your website again for everybody. I want you guys to go hit like. He's got like his Facebook in there, everything. I've already subscribed. I usually do it on air, but I know that we're kind of short on time. The way we end every episode is we give a positive affirmation to take people through the weekend of how they want to influence the world. Gavin is going to start us off today. I will go next, and then you ready for some fun? Watch what I do. I play games with people because they never know what I'm going to do. Bob, who is not ready at all, you can see he's sitting there. Bob is going to give us his that he's ready for, and then you will go last, Geoffrey, so that way you give us the final word of the day. Sound good?
You just want a word, or?
Oh, no, you'll see. Gavin's going to show you how it's done.
Yeah, absolutely. First off, again, I'd like to thank everybody who's been part of the show today. It's been an absolute pleasure talking with Bob and talking with Geoffrey as well, and then everybody who was in the comments section. The thing that I want to take from today and give back to the people is, one of the things that was brought up was politicians. And we talked about many kinds of different leaders who both are and not politicians, whether you work in an office or you're building a business, or even if you're in your friend group. A lot of the most powerful leaders and influential people in the world were not straight A students. They were not people who graduated college or even went to college. Some of them not even graduated high school, but what they were confident in what they believed in, and they were amazing storytellers. They were very influential in the fact that they could capture the minds of people. So if you feel like you cannot make a difference in the world, in the lives around you, in your life, you are absolutely wrong. Because as long as you find what you believe in and you learn how to master communicating that with people, then you can inspire hundreds of thousands you can inspire generations long after you are gone just from what you believe in. It's not about being the smartest person in the room. It's about being the best at communicating what you believe in.
Very well said. Very well said, Gavin. I'm going to actually play off of what you just said and keep it going. Is when you look at everybody else for your judgment on how you're supposed to be, you lose track of you. So don't let others step on the fire that's inside you, because that truth of who you are is what's going to ignite that fire like Gavin was talking about. And if you don't know that, set some boundaries for yourself, because you're your best you. There's nobody else that wants to do that.
Yeah. Well, good morning. I want to just say thank you to everybody, man. I really have appreciated what you guys are doing for me. I really, really appreciate it. But I wanted to just feed off a little bit. I really appreciated Geoffrey. I'm trying to be a storyteller. I'm trying to write a book, but I'm struggling with it. But one of the things he said about, influencing other people and that positivity, if we keep the perspective of in a positive realm, man, that does affect everybody. And we are all leaders. I mean, everybody's a leader. I don't care if you're a hermit on a beach. Somebody's going to see you being a hermit and say, I want to do that too. So I try to keep myself in this perspective that there's always somebody watching. And I want to be the best example I can be. So I try to bring my sense of humor. I mean, if you ain't got a sense of humor, we ain't going to get along because I'm going to be busting your ass. But just go out there and be real. And people need and want authenticity today. And it's so much easier to just be yourself than to try to be what somebody else thinks you are or want to be. We don't fit in boxes, man. We were not created to be in a box. We were created to stand out. And if you're trying to fit in, it ain't going to work. You're going to live a miserable life. So just go out there and be you, love people, do what you can do to help somebody, and just keep it positive and love the people around you. It's easy.
That well said, Bob.
I'm going to share my favorite quote, and oftentimes I find others can sum things up in ways that I really truly believe. This is a quote by Ralph Waldo Emerson, and it was, "What is success?" So I always look at this as the definition of success: to laugh often and much, to win the respect of intelligent people and the affection of children, to earn the appreciation of honest critics and endure the betrayal of false friends, to appreciate beauty, to find the best in others, to leave the world a bit better, whether by a healthy child, a garden patch, or redeem social condition. To know even one life has breathed easier because you have lived. This is to have succeeded. So go out and be successful.
Right, absolutely amazing. Absolutely. Geoffrey, I'd love to have you back on. Bob, you already know you're going to be back next Friday doing positivity. We don't even know where you're going to be in the U.S. yet, but we're looking forward to doing great things. Gavin, any last words, buddy?
No, once again, I'd like to thank everybody who participated in today's show. This was, in all honesty, it's an amazing episode, amazing day, and an amazing week. Please be safe. Try to do something nice, whether it's big or small for somebody else, just out of the kindness of your heart. And we will see you all next week, Monday, right early, same time, same place. Have a wonderful weekend. Take care.